I want to talk about a moment last week where I felt embarrassed for a second. If you watch my last episode, you've kind of already heard this story, and I'm not going to retell the whole thing, but what I am going to do is just kind of go over the highlights. So I'm in a Chamber of Commerce meeting last week, and I am new to this Chamber of Commerce. This is my second meeting. In the beginning of the meeting, they give you 30 seconds to give a commercial about your business or about what you bring to the table. What are your strengths? What are you asking for on the chamber? Like, what is it that you're looking for from others? They give you 30 seconds for this. And this particular meeting was very, very busy. There were 70 people in the room. So it goes around and it gets to me. And my first 10 seconds of my 30 is very strong. And then I black out and I start talking about I don't even know what. And the timer goes off, ding, and I have to just sit down. So I just say, see me after the meeting, and I sit down, knowing full well that I have a work call right after this meeting, and I'm not going to be here after the meeting to be seen. And in that moment, my face got really hot. I felt insanely embarrassed. I felt like I had just messed up and ruined my chances of building a relationship with anybody in this room. And I also decided in that moment that I will never be returning here because of the level of embarrassment that I felt. I went home that day and I completed my workday, but I also spent the rest of that day imagining and believing that the other 70 people in that room were thinking about how I failed as much as I was. And the truth is, they were not. And if you've ever had an embarrassing moment, an awkward moment, when you said something maybe you didn't want to say, or when you responded to something a way that wasn't ideal, nobody's thinking about when you did that either. I know we think they are. I promise, I know, but they're not. There's this fear of judgment. There is this fear of, oh my gosh, they now know that I don't deserve to be here, or they now know that I'm not that smart, or they know that I don't know what I'm talking about, or, all of these things, or they know that I'm awkward and, I can never show my face here again. There are a lot of funny memes on the internet, like I had an awkward interaction with a cashier and now I have to change my grocery store. Or, I had a moment where I said something that was embarrassing and now I can never go back there again. That's just not the case. There's a psychological concept called the spotlight effect. And what the spotlight effect tells us is that everybody else is thinking about us far more than they actually are. The truth is, everybody is thinking about themselves, right? I'm thinking about me, you're thinking about you. Nobody is running around, especially, when they have their own lives and their own stuff going on, thinking about what I have done that was embarrassing or wrong. It's just not happening. There's this fear that they've judged me, or there's this fear that they think that I'm worthless. They don't, and they're not. The reality is that we're all human. And what this boils down to is ego. My ego does one of two things. It either tells me that I'm better than everybody else in the room or that I'm worse than everybody else in the room. But either way, I stand out from everybody else. I either stand out as the best or I stand out as the worst. It tells me that I'm the main character of the room. And that is rarely, if not never, the case. When I am living in humility, which is the opposite of ego, I know that I'm not the main character of any room and that everybody has their own things and their own lives going on and nobody is spending their time thinking about me. It allows me to be more human. It allows me to have my human experiences and it allows me to give myself grace and allow myself to be a flawed human being because I'm not perfect. I never will be. No one is. I am allowed to be a flawed human being and I am allowed to make mistakes. That's okay. I am also allowed to try again, even if my mistake was embarrassing for me. I realize that this clarity comes sometimes 24 hours, sometimes it takes around 48 hours, sometimes it takes a week for this clarity to come and for me to realize that I'm in my own head. I think that everyone's thinking about me, and they're actually not. So, if you are ever in an experience where you're embarrassed or where you want to quit something because you don't like the way that you responded to something, or you came across awkward, or you said a thing that you didn't want to say, I want you to take some time and pause. Take some time and pause and remember that you are human. Give it 24 hours, give it 48 hours. What you will realize is that it's not as big of a deal as you thought it was. And nobody is thinking about you as much as you are. And just like nobody is thinking about me as much as I am. I remember when I was living in a halfway house. I was in early sobriety. This was back in 2015, 2016. I was living in this halfway house with 15 other people in early sobriety. And I allowed myself to become consumed with what I thought they thought about me, right? Because I am this person who is figuring out how to do life. I don't know how to do anything, but I'm figuring it out and I'm learning as I go. And I'm learning amongst other people who are also learning. And I remember I had this mentor who was just wonderful. And she used to have to remind me all the time, what other people think of me is none of my business. And I'm going to say that to you. What other people think of you is none of your business. Let that sort of marinate for a second. The most important thing is what I think of me. The most important thing is that I know who I am. I know that I am human. I know that I am worthy. I know that I am capable. I also know that I am not perfect and I mess up sometimes. I know that when I want something, when I really want something, or when I have a dream, that I am worthy of chasing that dream, even if I mess up along the way. There is not one person in the world who has chased a dream and not messed up multiple times along the way getting there. Not one. So the next time you're at the grocery store and you say something really awkward or bad, just know that, you and that other person may giggle about it for a second. That other person that you had this interaction with may giggle about it for 1 second, and then they're going to completely forget about it and move on with their lives because they have lives. They have things going on. They have much more to think about than you. And living in humility is the thing that brings me peace. It is the thing that brings me the ability to rest. It is the thing that brings me the ability to give myself grace and to keep going. So am I going to go back to this Chamber of Commerce meeting again? Yeah, I am. I'm actually going to go back this coming Friday. And it's going to be amazing. I may mess up my 30-second intro again. I absolutely may. But you know what I'm not going to do? Give up. Because I'm going to allow myself to be human along this journey. I am going to allow myself to make mistakes. And I'm going to remember every second of every day that nobody else is thinking about me the way that I think about me. I'm my favorite topic. I'm my favorite subject. I am always thinking about me. Nobody else is. They're thinking about them the same way that I'm thinking about me. So don't let an awkward experience or a misstep or a mistake that you made keep you from going back to something, because you deserve to be there. And the more mistakes we make along the journey, the more we learn. What did I learn from the mistake that I made? I learned that I was talking about what I can do. Here's what I can do. What I wasn't focusing on is how I can be of service to other people in the room, how I can be of service to everybody else, because that I know how to talk about. That is what actually brings value to the rest of that room, is how can I show up and be of service to others by using the gifts that were given to me, by using the experiences that I have in this life. How can I show up and be of service to my fellow humans using those gifts? And that's what I should be focused on. And I learned that in that moment. It was mortifying, but I learned. And that is the most important thing. And now I can move forward and I can go back to that room. And if I mess it up again, I mess it up again and I will try again. But I have some faith in myself this time. I don't think I'm going to mess it up, but I might, and it'll be okay, even if I do. And even if I mess up 5 times in a row, I can rest assured that no one else in that room is going to go home thinking about it in any way the same as me.